You're listening to Small Business Talk with Jerry. Sit in on great conversations with entrepreneurs who risk everything chasing the American dream.
Hello, everybody. We're back with Small Business Talk with Jerry. I'm Jerry. Pretty simple. We have Fred. We have Kelly.
Yeah.
I'd like to welcome you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
This is going to be a unique podcast, or episode. And I've said that before because I thought I had a program that we were going to follow, and we really haven't. So you're in for a ride, I guess. I'm going to let Kelly and Fred introduce themselves and kind of what they do and why they're here.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay, I got to go first. So, when we talk about small business, if you could do me a favor, that'll go up in my head a little bit. We're actually pastors, so I mean we've done this for 30 plus years at least, something like that. So
Yeah.
So that's where
That's
we're
amazing at 29 that you could have been doing it for 30 years already.
Thank you.
at. Right. Yeah, we started at age 2.
Right?
Yeah, so I mean, it's been fun. So
It has been. I'm Kelly, and yeah, we've been doing this together for a while.
yeah.
It's very kind of you to say 29, but I always feel bad. I can't really admit that anymore because my oldest child is 24. So, yeah.
I
But
think it's hard to explain.
I know, it's hard to explain. But yeah.
It does.
We've been kind of all around. We've been in Minnesota, we've been in Arkansas, and now we're back in Minnesota. But
Yeah.
been pastoring in a
Yeah.
number of different
Big,
areas.
small?
Yeah, I was just going to say, a number of different areas, different churches. So,
You name the size, been there, done that.
Yep.
So, yeah.
but we enjoy it, and we enjoy doing it together.
Yeah, that's very true. We do enjoy doing that together.
We
So
do.
there you go. That's
Awesome.
I mean, that's us in a nutshell.
Cool.
Sorry.
Cool. Well, and there's gonna be.
And you're worried about the jokes.
See, that's I worry.
If anybody
I'm worried.
gets that joke, they're like, "He's watched that movie." Yes, I have.
Yes.
because it's hilarious. So
Well, I've known you guys for
about 6 years.
I'll say about 6
Yeah.
years.
Yep.
So, and Fred and I have had many conversations. Kelly and I, a couple of them.
Yep.
But Fred and I, Fred has frequents a few of my businesses. So it's been a great relationship
Yep.
overall. We've been through a lot already, and we talk about the business side of the church.
Sure.
And that's why you're here today.
Yep.
We've kind of discussed this.
We're
and
gonna unveil it.
yes, I mean, and I'm going
the
to
shroud
admit
back.
that we spent the first 15 minutes talking before we started recording, and I was like, what can I ask? What can we talk about? Like it's some big secret. And Fred, you had a great answer. He tells me, he goes, if you ask me something I can't answer, we're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Well, I really said this. I said, if you sit down with somebody in the ministry, now I'm going to tell on everybody in the ministry. I'm going to get death threats.
Hopefully
Gotcha.
people still like you after this.
But hey,
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. If you sit down with somebody in the ministry and they can't answer money, or they dance around it, they're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And I hate saying that way because I know
Right.
people in business that.
That do the
Hey,
same
where's
thing.
the money going?
How about those twins?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go twins go.
Right.
Yeah, right. So that's what you run into,
Well, you
So-
have what I think is unique. Obviously, a lot of our listeners probably are, or both of them. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see.
Well, one of them's right here.
One of them's right here, right? But we were talking, and you made a comment at our auto shop here a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago. I don't remember exactly, but about the church being a franchise.
Oh,
And that just, I mean, I'm 52. I've been in business most of my life.
yep.
And I've been to church. I started in Sunday school, and we're still going today.
Sure.
And when you said your church was a franchise,
Well, I said
it
that.
just blew me away.
Oh.
We
Yeah,
said,
you would.
I didn't know I said that. Wow. Okay.
well, I mean, we talked about it being you said it somehow, something about being franchised or being that there's multiple of them.
Okay.
Of the Mercy Hills, I think is how we got on that.
Well, we want that. That's we want to duplicate ourselves.
Okay.
So
Okay.
So
There's not yet.
there's
It's
not yet.
coming.
Yet.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's not
okay.
yet. So, to answer that, I don't remember making that statement, but I'm going to say let's go with it because there are multiple ways of franchising that, and the heart behind it though is you just want to and you got to understand this really big. You want to duplicate the same heart.
Right.
That's what you want.
Right.
If you're trying to duplicate what you do, how you do it, that's okay. It's going to go so far, but you have to duplicate heart, and that's what. And so, really, then to spin the tables on you and just do this. Why of the couple of businesses that you have, am I adamantly going after and okay to spend my money there? Well, because both of them. I don't know if I can name your businesses or what can I? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so like Broadway,
Yep.
Card Care, I've shown up there and you have literally looked at me and gone, "You can fix this. Please leave." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I want to spend the $400 with you," and you're like, "I'm not. No, go spend the $40, put it on yourself, save the other $400." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." That's hard. Because you care more about people than you care about what's going on, And then even on the flip side of it, with Black Diamond, I've built a few guns of my own.
Yep.
So there you go.
There you go. It's out there.
It's out there.
I didn't bring it up.
Pastor with the guns. It's got a stockade full. At any rate, I wish. Anyway, see, you put me in front of a camera and I just play to it. So
Yeah, you do.
I've built guns, got myself into a problem. And I've shown up there, and, guy behind the counter grabs it, looks at it, you talk, they talk, fix it, or bring me behind the counter and help me fix it, and then I leave having paid nothing. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go to bat for you, because really what that proves to me is you care more about me than you do what's in my pocket, and therein is good business,
Right?
And so whenever. I'll lay off of that. So
Well,
there you go.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, to relate that to the business side of things, if you're going to franchise, or you're just going to, for me, I probably wouldn't franchise, but if I were going to open multiple locations,
Right.
you need to duplicate that.
Yeah.
That's the piece. You have I have Michael who manages Black Diamond Armory for me. I spend 3 or 4 hours a month in that building. That's it.
Wow.
Now I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes still. I still help. I still do a lot. I take phone calls and texts every day.
Yep.
But time in the building, interacting with you as a client when you're there, I just don't have that anymore.
Right.
But I didn't stop doing that till we had Michael in place. And I tell you, you've met Michael.
Yep.
He's a good kid, and
Yep.
he is a student. He
Yep.
researches and learns. You ask him a question, he'll answer you. You ask him a question that he can't answer, give it an hour or a day,
Yep.
and he will
Exactly.
know more about it than the rest of us.
Yep.
There are all kinds of topics in that gun shop that Michael had no idea 2 years ago. And now I defer to him.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And honestly, and to me, and he's so passionate about the business being successful. And the one thing that I've really worked with him on is, the money coming in and the money going out.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to manage that.
Right.
Yep.
You have to manage that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the money doesn't walk in on its own.
Right.
The people bring it.
Right.
Goes
Right.
through relationships.
It goes through relationships.
Exactly.
And so then it comes down to, okay, well, if you play to the people, they will bring you money.
Sure.
If you actually care about the people, and you don't
Right.
have to, because if you play to people to get a dollar amount.
Exactly.
If you care about people, the dollars just come.
Right.
And you don't have
Right.
to. You don't have to play to, well, we need $1,000 today.
Yeah.
We need $800 this afternoon.
So two big
Yeah.
things with that. That's first off, you want to understand why Chick-fil-A does what it does. There you go.
Yeah.
There's culture there. Secondly, with that, here comes the pastor, you're actually operating on a biblical format that you don't realize.
Right. Absolutely.
And when you don't go that route, well, you get the end result of that. His way brings life. The other way brings death, and you can watch that, and you can see that in businesses. You see that in churches that don't really care. They care about numbers, which they do care about numbers. I care about numbers, but
You have to.
I care about numbers because that's people.
Right.
That's
Well,
where
and
I'm
two,
at.
you do a good thing, and if you don't have any money, that good thing stops.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It does.
Yeah.
It's so.
And therein lies the business side of
Right.
Of ministry, which nobody ever talks about. We want to help the poor, we want to help this, help that, help the homeless, and we do. But yet, if you don't have the cash, it's not going to happen. And you are limited by your reach at that point. So,
Yeah.
so this when you travel down that path as a pastor, it gets sticky, tricky,
Sure,
because
but it
people,
does.
don't talk about money. Well, you have to,
Yeah. Well, we said that way we sat down. I said, I want to talk about the business side of the church.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do in this episode. And I've sat through a lot of sermons in my life. Like I said, I'm 52. Been through a lot of sermons,
Yeah.
and I've never heard any pastor talk about money other than just reminding us that we should put some in the pot.
Sure.
Right? We should put
Sure.
some in the pot. When you pass, we should put some in there,
Yep.
and we should
Yes.
figure out what we're going to do for next year, and we should be planning how much we're going to. And we talk about percentages of my income that should come to
Sure.
the church.
Yeah.
But I don't ever hear them really talk about the management of it.
Yeah.
And I said, when you walk into church, you walk right by a door. Every church has a door with a business office,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
label on it. Every church has a paid employee that is a business manager,
Yep.
Yep.
And like you said, you have a board that helps decide where the money goes.
Yep.
So
And that differentiates small business from church, in a way. And so I'll explain it this way. I'm not sitting down with them running each dollar by them, They look at it in the sense of the same way I'd look at you, and that is, well, if you don't manage your money well, it's going to close.
The lights
Right,
don't stay on.
right.
Yeah, so we make sure that happens.
Right.
So the small business side of a church, whether it's $400,000 a week or it's 120, 200,000 a year,
Sure.
whichever one,
Yep.
you still have to pay for the basics.
Right.
Right.
There's just no way around it.
Right.
Gas, electric, water, all that, you got to pay for it.
Yeah.
So you better budget that. And if you don't, well, there you go. So that's the simpleness of it. You have to pay for employees, you got to pay for the taxes, got to pay for the, all the stuff. And you got to make sure that gets covered. But yet people don't want to, and I don't, so I give, I don't want to just give to a building.
Right.
I
Right.
really don't, unless the building has purpose.
Well, it's funny. You say this. We're having this now. Of course, this isn't going to get released until 2024.
Yep.
But for everyone listening, we're recording this on November 7th, 23.
Yep.
What I had to scramble to do after getting out of work today, getting home, and we had to go vote.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. I was just gonna say.
We were scrambling, and I pull up, and there's quite a line, and I'm looking at my phone. It's 10 after 5, and I'm like, you guys are coming at 6. I'm like, this might be a text. You're going to be sitting in my driveway for a minute, because
Yeah.
we have a $62 million referendum
Right.
Right.
for a town of 6,000 people.
Right.
I know.
My house that we're sitting in right now will be an $1,100 annual increase just on that referendum.
Wow.
Right. Right.
I have
So,
not done the math just yet.
yes. So voting
Wow.
for
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
or against this,
Right,
whichever you're
right.
doing, in a town of 6,000 people, there's a lot of these referendums that they'll have hundreds of votes, not thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, when you
Totally.
look at when people say, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I vote on every presidential election.
Yep.
But I know that my vote, it's hard to feel good about it because it's just such a huge number.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
yep, and then you watch the YouTube videos of the guys that are shamming, and
Yep.
they've got their boxes of ballots they picked up at this apartment complex, and and they're laughing about it, and they're gonna go fill them out, and it's like, and my one vote, I can't, I knock off one of those.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it, and he's got totes full of it,
Yep.
Yeah.
and he's making multiple trips, and this is what our country has turned into, which we don't want to get into that mess. Like I say, we won't go there. But
Funny.
but the cool thing is here, $62 million referendum, my vote matters.
Exactly.
Right.
Here it's
and we're dealing with the same thing in Rochester.
right,
So,
right. Because you guys didn't even have school today because of this, wasn't it? Didn't they do something? They
I-
closed.
Yeah.
Hey, my kids are homeschooled, so
Yeah.
so you can tell
homeschooled, so I kinda
you can
swiped by
tell
that
how I
message.
voted.
Yeah.
I'll keep
Yeah.
my money. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry.
yep. No, I'm in. We have a couple good friends of mine on school board, and not real happy with the way this has been handled. The
Yeah.
good thing is we're all adult enough that we can disagree on this, and
And
as a
still
matter of
sit
fact-
down
Yep.
and have a discussion about
Yep.
it. Yeah.
Yep. I know. One of them, his family, they're going on vacation with us to Jamaica here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And depending on how tonight's vote went, we'll see how that goes. I'm just kidding.
See how happy everybody is.
Yeah, see how happy
Yeah.
everybody is.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but the point is, it's. There's going to be a lot of ribbon if this goes through. We're going to be
Yeah.
an all-inclusive, but I'm telling him he's buying the drinks. So and I'll
Yeah.
remind him of that every day.
Yep. And I would. That's where
Yeah.
he's at. Yes.
Yeah. But, this is
Yeah.
a spot where we can look back. And of course, it was different school board members,
Right.
over the years
Yeah.
as they get voted in, voted out, or they retire or whatever. But this is an issue that this city has been kicking down it's a can they've been kicking down the road for a dozen years or better.
Sure.
We have a school building that we were told we had to close it down and build a new one because it wasn't safe for the kids to be in.
Okay.
Same building's being used today. That was a dozen years ago.
Sure.
Or so. Same building's being used today for different people, but
Yeah.
somehow it's safe for them.
Yeah.
So no one's grown a third eye or anything like that. From the terrible pipes and all the horror stories we
Right.
heard.
Right.
But now the solution is they couldn't get their $17 or $18 million referendum. They didn't get their $34 million one a few
Yep.
years, 2-3 years ago. And so now we're looking for $62 million. The solution is we're just going to wrap this thing up huge, and you guys are just going to pay the bill. We're just going
Yeah.
to spread it out. It's like, so we'll see how it goes. But
Yeah.
here again, you need some checks and balances, for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and that's funny when you talk about checks and balances. That's the number one thing that people. God, this is going to turn into a finances and church thing,
Right. Well,
and that's the number one thing that
Good.
people run into. Is
Gotcha. Right.
Is where are you spending the money?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you have leadership that's not open and honest,
Right.
I don't care where they're at. If they're in the church or if they're in the school board or if they're at nobody wants to be a part of that.
No.
So, you just, when question, as a pastor, when question gets asked, I'll answer, but also we're going to be very open with it. Here's what we're doing. Here's where it's going. Here's how it happened,
Well, and
So-
one thing I think that let's be honest. This referendum for the school, it's a donation. I mean, but I'm being told
Yeah.
I have to donate
Yeah.
if I want to live here, right?
Right.
Because
We said no politics, but now I'm thinking communism. So, sorry.
but I mean, we look at when you're in church, you have. I mean, and I'm not asking for an answer. It's a rhetorical question here, but if you look at the income from the lowest income family in your church
Sure.
to the highest.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you'd have that $40,000 income to 1.2 million income or whatever the spread is.
Yep.
The cool thing with what you guys have, those two people are going to expect, those two families are going to expect much different things
Sure.
from you and from your church. You're the building you're sitting from the building you walk into, the pews you sit in,
Yeah.
right? The audio visual stuff that you're going to use, the technology,
Yep.
two completely different expectations. So the good news is, of course, because it's donation,
Yeah.
they get to choose how much they want to contribute
Right.
to get
Yeah.
what they get.
Right.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, you can want because we all want the same thing the $1.2 million family wants,
Right.
Right.
but we don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not Congress. We can't just say we want more, so
Right.
give me money.
Right.
We have to go. I want more, but when I run out of money, I have to quit writing checks. That's just-
Exactly.
Exactly.
Wait, that's how that works?
that's how that works. See?
Wait, hold on. What? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Honey, we got to go.
It's hard to leave.
I find it interesting. Like you're talking about the school and all that stuff, and and we're going, well, we homeschool, so I kind of stay out of that. And then at the same time, I don't want to invest my money there because we didn't like the product that was coming out of there. So
Yeah.
we don't send our
Very-
kids there. So I don't want to necessarily invest my money there. I do care about my neighbors' kids, but didn't want to invest their money there. But yet when you look at church, we want everybody going and seeing this is something I want to invest in. This is something I want to be a part of. And like we said, not that church is about money. Church is, but yet money's a part of it.
It has to be.
It has to be. Because the
right.
lights, the building, those kind of things. But it's just interesting how, in one sense we'll go, well, it's okay to say no and just kind of walk away. In church, yes, you're welcome to walk away, but our heart is to create something, have something that everybody wants to be a part of.
Yeah.
And that you feel like, hey, I'm giving and being a part of something that makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense, you're kind of getting, you're kind of getting a return for in a sense, but yet
Yeah.
not, but no.
Really, what it comes down to is the statement I keep making. So if you show up to Mercy Hill, you're going to hear me, hey, welcome. Thanks for showing up. We're glad you're here. By the way, if this is your first, second, third time, don't give. You don't know us, and we don't know you.
Right.
We're all good. Second thing is, you need to show up more than once. Because if you show up once, you're going to think, well, that guy's weird. And he is. Listen to her. She's not weird, Meet other people. Find out why God brought you here. Because you think, well, I just showed up to a church. But really what happened is God brought you here. Find out why he brought you here. Because this might not be the church for you.
Sure.
And I'm cool with that.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of great churches in Rochester.
Totally.
In Stewartville, there's Casson. Yeah, go either way.
Right.
Find the one where God wants you to be at. That's what this comes down to. So in a business sense, that doesn't work. You're kind of shuttling people out. And really what you want to do is you want to hoard people in. And that's just not the way God works. So here we're talking about the small business,
Right.
but yet on my side of it, I'm looking at it as really what I care about is are you where you're supposed to be?
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And I'm not going to guilt and condemn you to stay somewhere where God's leading you somewhere else. And I have to be smart enough to kind of go, cool, praise God, be blessed. I mean, no ill will,
Right.
Nothing. That kind of go do it.
That's hard in our society today.
Well, yeah, but
To not hate someone because we don't agree.
yeah, but
Oh, entirely.
but so is not being offended, and we're not doing real good at that, are we?
Right? Well, we said that earlier.
But the mature folk are sitting down and going, I completely disagree with you. How are you doing today?
Yeah, let's go
Did
have
you have a
beer.
good day? Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I'm hungry. Let's go eat.
Let's go have lunch. It's
What
like,
about the twins?
yeah, right.
No, I'm still mad at you. Well, I'm not. I mean,
Right.
I'm the one that doesn't agree with you, or you don't agree with.
Yeah.
So, the heart behind that is, people matter.
Right.
Right.
The job isn't to change someone's mind. The job is, and I mean, when I say job, I mean your job
Yeah.
as well as mine as a business owner.
Yeah.
But as a pastor, it's such a higher calling. I mean, so much. But I feel well. I mean, but you're for me. We've been in all my businesses, really. I mean, you guys do. I mean, your
Yeah.
logos
Sure,
with
right, yeah.
Design HQ.
Right.
There's a third one that you guys
Yeah.
have been working. We talked about tonight.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
And there's the point. Why go down that road with you? Oh, because you treated me great over there.
Oh, 100%.
yeah, and
Keep talking. Sorry.
But on the same token, if I run Design HQ differently than I run Broadway Car Care,
Right.
then
There you go.
I'm done.
Yep.
I mean, you guys. Well, you guys are done.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going until I go broke. But you guys are done with me. You're just like, and the hard part is, if I don't run Design HQ, if I don't take care of you to the same capacity that you're used to with Black Diamond or Broadway Car Care,
Right.
Yep.
all of a sudden that's going to tarnish the
Yeah.
other two.
Yes.
You're going to
Oh,
take that
totally.
with you, no matter how good a people you are.
Right.
You're going to be. Is that real?
Yep.
Over there?
Yep. So, we were talking earlier about, how do we bring people into the church? First off, if you show up, welcome.
Yeah.
But one of the big things.
People want to be included.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Well, let me answer that a little
Okay.
differently.
Yeah.
People don't want to be included. People want purpose.
Okay.
What people
Well, you're a better person than I am. I mean, let's start with that. We can't deny that.
People want purpose.
Right.
Inclusion will come, but really what they want is purpose. I mean,
Do they know that? Do most people know that? I think most people think they want to be included.
and they do. They do.
I
They don't
mean,
want to be left out for sure.
They don't want to be left out. Maybe that's
Yes.
different than included.
Right.
Right. I mean, yeah, to a point.
Because
But-
included, like you have like, I'm okay with the other businesses because of how Broadway Car Care treated us first, because that
Sure.
was our
Yep.
first. So when then you're okay to be included. But
Sure.
until it's that I don't want to be left out.
Yeah, it is
So,
different. It is
yeah,
different.
Yeah.
So with purpose, really what it is sometimes this is what I want, but that's what I need.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal of Mercy Hill, if you will, is I just want to help you find your purpose. That's
Sure.
it. That's
Sure.
it. I want you to, and so we have a tagline, we want you to know God. We want you to find freedom. We want you to discover purpose. And we want you to make a difference.
That's awesome.
Those are the four. I didn't come up with that. Just want to let you know that. Well, here's the funny thing in God, so with churches is like, I think this is so hilarious. I love calling us on the carpet about our stupidity. Each church thinks that they've coined something, and I'm like, hey guys, we're all using the same book.
Yeah.
It says the same thing. Just want to let you
Right.
know that. And in there you can find know God, find freedom, discover purpose. And I used to say it a little bit different until I met a guy that he's like, hey man, we drug what did he say, like 10 people in that didn't know God, You know, a couple of them were atheists. They didn't care about the church at all, you know, that kind of a thing. And they just started asking them questions. Said, hey, look, we'll pay you $100. We just want to figure out what you know and what you don't know. And they came out of the room going, people really just want to know God. They want to find freedom.
Yeah.
They want to discover purpose.
Right.
And then they want to make a difference. And those four things, whenever you start understanding them, they just walk through the Word. I mean, I told myself, don't preach when you get here. But there's a mic in front of me and there's people, you know. So
Well,
I'm going to lend to that, you
Your
know.
make a difference point, you know, to talk about wanting to be included.
Mm-hmm.
I think that wanting to be included, you want to be included in something that's bigger than you. And that's where the make a difference comes in. Because, you know, I was just talking to my kids about this today. None of us will get to the end of our life and go, I wish I would have bought more groceries. I wish I would have bought
Right.
a different house. You're going to go, what is left of me? What matters?
Yeah.
You know, and ultimately that's the point, is what matters when I'm not here anymore. What's
Right.
left of me? You
Well,
know?
And see, you guys give people so much more credit than I do. And I mean this. Because I listen to this and I hear exactly what you're saying,
Yeah.
and I really think I understand
Sure.
what you mean.
Yeah.
I just don't think people get it.
No,
I
they
just,
don't.
I just
No.
that's when I say you're not wrong. Absolutely. People want a purpose.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like when you talk about
But
your
you
kids.
don't know what you don't know.
Right. You can't.
And,
Right, you can't.
And I go back to sometimes what you want isn't what you need.
Right.
You
And
know.
when you talk about that, you guys have kids.
Yep.
And so now you tell me that your kids don't want structure.
Right.
Oh,
Right?
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
But ask your kids
Oh, no structure.
if they want structure,
No,
right? They have
I'm
no
free.
idea.
Yeah.
Right. They have no idea. They want, but if we could hover above them and let our kids just be free for a day and be in charge, do their thing, right?
Right.
I mean, it would be awesome
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some point in the day where your tough guy, kid, boy,
Sure.
or your sassy girl
Right.
is going to be sitting in a corner, sucking their thumb, crying their eyes out, going,
Yep.
"Where's Dad? Who's making a sandwich? What's
Exactly.
going on?
How do I solve this?
How do I solve this?"
So, you know, when you talk that way, there's a lesson. Sorry, it's going to go.
This is
There's a
why
lesson.
we're here.
There's a lesson I teach with that, and it is, it revolves.
I need some cool music.
Yeah, right. It revolves around.
I'm new at this. I'm sorry.
Hey, it's all good.
It revolves around the understanding of who's in control. And so when you talk about who's in control, you know, there's 4 levels of control. First one is just flesh. I mean, that's a baby. He cries. Sorry. He cries because he's hungry, he's got to poop, or he has pooped, and he wants something. He
Yep.
just and we know people that are that way. Okay. Second level is parent control. That means that somebody is telling you no. Our problem in society is that if parents don't teach control, then the cops teach control.
Right.
Or somebody in the restaurant that's tired of your garbage teaches you control.
Right.
You know, that happens. But really, what we yearn for is to have self-control. Okay, but you'll notice we're only on number 3. And this is where people hit the wall and they think, yes, I have self-control. And I mean, you run into everything from, you know, David Goggins, Cam Hanes, Jocko Willink. I just named the 3 big ones in the world right now. Joe Rogan, you know, all those guys.
Yep.
And there is a mental understanding of how to gain self-control. Why do I take jiu-jitsu? Gain control. I want to control me, and I want to be able to, if I need to, control someone else.
Right.
Point being, there is another level to that, and that is this: being spirit controlled, being led by God. Well, you know, we've already made our joke at communism, but you know, I cannot come over to your wallet, take your wallet, and go give it to somebody.
Well, you're not a congressman.
That's true. That's true. I am not a
You'd have to run
politician.
for office first.
That's
Then
true.
you can do that.
Now I know how I can do
See?
that. Then my analogy will not work.
No,
You know?
now you're done.
But it works real well in church whenever I walk over and I grab someone's Bible and I'm like, I can't take your Bible and give it to someone else. You can't yield something that you don't have control over. And if you're not in control of yourself, then you can't yield it to God. And so when we talk about know God, find freedom, part of finding freedom is understanding how to discipline yourself. I mean, we're talking about business, but let's, you know.
But again, you have a
Yeah,
mic, so.
but on the same token, one of the things I want to do as facilitator
Sure.
in this podcast is to help people take. Okay, so I've said this in previous podcasts. You guys haven't heard them yet because we haven't released them.
Sure.
But I don't want to come on this podcast and make people think that I have all the answers.
Oh, right.
I'm not the expert. I'm not the go-to guy.
Yeah.
But what I feel like I'm good at, two things: asking a lot of questions.
Sure.
Right? I want to make you think.
Yeah.
Because if you have a problem and you ask me for help and you just ask my advice,
Yeah.
if I happen to have good advice or good experience with the problem you're having, I'll share it with you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But what you get from that is one solution for one isolated problem.
Yep.
Right.
Now, you guys have been doing this business, church. I mean, I'm going to call it the same thing.
Sure.
Yep.
Yep.
But, I mean, how often do you deal with the exact same problem
Yeah.
over and over? You don't. Even when it's a similar problem, it looks like the same problem on the outside.
Totally different.
Totally different.
Right. Yep.
So the answer that guy gave you 10 years ago, the only way it works is that problem has evolved.
Exactly.
And so now you have to evolve. And
Yep.
I like to ask questions because I want to hear what you've done. Now,
Sure.
in the church, when I'm sitting here listening to you talk about the spiritual side as well as the business side, I mean, I'm relating everything you say. When you give me your four points,
Yep.
I relate that to my business
Exactly.
immediately. I
Right.
mean, I relate that to my business because even to the point, if you are an atheist, if you don't believe in God,
Sure.
Yeah.
okay, when you say no God, I can still relate to that,
Yeah.
even if I didn't believe.
Right.
If I wasn't a Christian, I can still relate that to things go on all the time that we don't control.
Exactly.
And so, if you want to call that God, if you want to call that happenstance,
Yeah.
call it whatever
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're going to have to deal with things you have no control over.
Yep.
Exactly.
All you can do is react, because acting didn't get it done,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
didn't preface this by you didn't get it done beforehand.
Yeah.
So now we have to react. I mean,
Yeah.
you talked about guns earlier,
Sure.
and I own a gun shop, as most everyone probably knows by now.
And I love you because of that.
But we talk about, I'm a permit to carry instructor.
Yeah.
So we talk, the comment that I make, and it's funny because when I used to do the classes live, the one phrase I use that I used to just, I miss the blank looks on people's faces because they don't understand it
Sure.
initially.
Yeah.
Action beats reaction
Yep.
every time.
Every time.
Yep.
Every time. That is I started the very first podcast, and whenever I say always or never, it's probably never, always, or never. There's
Yes.
nothing we do here is going to be 100%.
Right. Yep.
That, folks, is 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Action beats reaction every time, and people just kind of look at you until now you carry, or you have your permit. You guys know this. So, but with people that don't, they look at you going, nothing's absolute. That is.
No, it's absolute.
That is absolute.
very
Yep.
absolute.
Yeah.
Absolute. And but that, again, relate that to the church, relate it to your business,
Sure.
relate it to raising kids, relate it to
Right.
driving a car. Action beats reaction every time.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yep.
And so, when you're in business, you are either you're unless you're just sitting still waiting for someone to lock your doors, you are either acting or you're reacting.
Exactly.
Right? There's no in between.
Right.
Totally.
And
totally.
there is a third choice. I mean,
Yeah.
just
do nothing.
do nothing.
Yeah.
And
That's going to work well.
Yeah. And what happens when you do nothing?
You close the doors
Right.
forever.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing happens when
Nothing
you do
happens,
nothing. Right.
exactly.
It's,
Yes.
nothing
And nothing
happens.
is absolute. at
Nothing
that
is
point.
absolute. Right.
Yep.
So, but that same thing in the church. If you don't welcome me in,
Absolutely.
I don't feel included.
Exactly.
Right. I'm there, but I mean, why does divorce happen? Because couples feel alone when they're together.
Right.
You're not alone, but you
There
feel
was a
alone.
disconnect somewhere.
Right.
Yep.
And so when you talk about like franchising the church, we've been at the big church that
Yeah. 12,000 members.
we've
Yeah.
been there, and we've been in small town little Arkansas wasn't a small church, but it wasn't that church. So we've
400
been
people.
at 400 people. So we've been at both, and we see the pluses and minuses to both. But ultimately what it comes down to when you talk about franchising a church is the same experience no matter where you go. That
Right.
I'm accepted, I'm loved, I'm welcomed, and I
Yeah,
don't
it's
have
not-
to try to be something to come in the door. And
It's
and
not necessarily lights and sound. It's acceptance,
totally.
Right.
as you said.
Yeah. And so that's our heart in, when you talk about franchising that, because the big church is great, and in the
Is
Twin
it?
Cities, To some people.
Okay.
You know, so
See, that-
I would say, you know, some people really enjoy it.
When
you
you
know?
say 12,000 people in a church, in a
Oh, yeah.
congregation,
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Oh, I can tell the negative stories. You know,
Oh, we're not. You're not here to do that.
Well, no, I mean the funny ones are, you know, when you run into somebody and then you don't see them for 6 months, and then you run into them because you went to a different service. Hey man, where you been? Right here.
yeah.
Oh, I thought you left the church. You know,
I thought you were going to say there's 12,000 people. I've been here every week like you have. We just haven't run into each other.
Exactly. Well, and that,
I mean,
and that
that's
is the
gotta
so
be-
there is downsides, you know, and there's some people that can't stand the small town. You know, everybody knows you, and everybody knows your business.
Sure.
You know,
Well, there's
people
that too. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, so there's where I'm like, there's always pros and cons to both, and so I'm sure with ours, there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
But yet, our idea of franchising, I keep looking at him.
Yes.
I apologize. Our idea of franchising is that you can, you know, whether you live in Stewartville or you live in Orinoco or somewhere, that you can have the same experience without necessarily having to drive to the one big mecca.
Sure.
You know,
Yep.
I have nothing wrong with it. That's just not where
Yeah.
we feel like we're supposed to take our business. You know,
Right.
love that we're here, love the location that we have, but yet there's small towns all around us that need a church that they feel that way about. And
Right.
I love the ones that drive. We have people that drive 45 minutes to our church, and I'm
Yeah.
thankful for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yet I know that they're attracting people in their town because their personality. So how can we help bring this a little bit closer to them?
Right.
And that's when we talk franchising. That's what we see. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
well, I'm just thinking our way through this, and I'm like, we're supposed to be talking about small business.
Well,
You know?
but I mean, this is if you're gonna try and franchise out the church. I mean, I did like I was telling these guys earlier. I did a bunch of research when I heard the term franchise, and maybe when we talk this, you may not have been talking about yours. I just remember something came up in the conversation where you mentioned franchise.
Sure.
In the context of church.
Yeah.
And I
probably
mean,
did.
and like I said, maybe
Sounds like something he would say.
Yeah, I mean, a month goes by. I've talked to 40 other people about it, and now your conversation is completely different than
Yeah.
actually what happened. But,
Yeah.
but I remember you mentioned franchise in the church, and I thought that's not a thing. And then I Google it. It's
Yeah.
a thing.
It's a
I
thing.
mean, holy cow, is it a thing?
Right.
I mean, but now when you're saying this, it I don't know why I didn't think it was a thing. I don't know
Yeah.
why it was so surprising to me but now I'm thinking. A good friend of mine, Luann Beekler,
Okay.
she was on the podcast here a week or two ago.
Okay.
And she's a business coach. And I like to pick on her a little bit here and there, just because that's my nature. But we talk about like when we help other business owners.
Sure.
And Craig was sitting where you are, and he's a great guy. Another friend of mine. He's a recurring guest and co-host on the show here, of the podcast. And he's like he laughs. I said, if you need that motivational, let's feel good about what we're doing, that's her area. She does this thing called the passion test.
Okay.
And you take it, and it literally is, I think it's a couple hours, she said, and you do the test, and it's really supposed to show you where you're supposed to be.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, she talks about financial, emotional, spiritual. She kind of goes through the gamut, and then Craig's like, "What do you think of that?" I was like, "Get your shit done." Bottom line, pardon my language, but it's like if you get it done
Right.
and you care about people,
Right.
it's going to work.
Right.
Now, not everybody responds to that, right? So you can't, and that's
And this is why you and I get along.
Yeah.
Because that's me.
Yeah.
I'm like, get up and move.
Yeah. Yeah.
She, on the other hand,
gonna
is
say.
I love you. You can do it. And I'm like, get up.
it's like, wow. You're going to be there an hour from now if I don't do something, aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my mentality. It's like you really need somebody's boot, or you're not going to move, are you?
Yeah.
Right.
And Luann and I are so opposite or polar opposites in that,
Sure.
and we both want the same thing.
Yeah.
We both want the same
Right.
thing, and so that's why I think that's where you two have got to be just a fantastic
Oh, yeah.
tandem because of that. Because I mean, there's plenty of people that will take advantage of the way you do it.
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Because we give them a little sympathy, you give them a little compassion, and now I need more. I
Exactly.
need more. And I'm not going to do anything positive
Yeah.
because I know if I don't, you're going
But
to
then
tell
I walk
me.
into the room.
But then they need
What do you want?
Yep. It's like these are a size 12. Let's start there. But on the same token, there's people that are not going to respond to that.
Exactly.
And
Totally.
that's where I'm at. I just kind of look at it going, Well, when I used to do consulting early on, auto
Sure.
parts stores, I would go in as like a secret shopper. If you came in as an owner saying my store is just, we're losing money, we're not as profitable, we're profitable, but not like we used to be.
Yeah.
I think there's so much more potential, whatever the case is. You have what you have, but you want more. So I'd always tell them, we'd talk numbers as a contract, like what you're going to pay me, what am I going to get, what compensation, bonuses,
Yeah.
where do I get to pull money from if I do good,
Yeah,
right? Do I get
yeah.
a piece of that?
Yeah.
Or do I get a piece of the whole thing? Or, we'd have that kind of negotiation.
Yep.
And these guys would be like, so we're good. We agree on everything. Yep, now let's see if I want to work for you. And they're like, didn't we just do that? No, we did not just do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
What we did is we determined what you're going to compensate me if and when I fix your problem.
Exactly.
Now I'm going to go see if I want to fix your problem, or more importantly, do I think I can fix your problem?
Yep, better said. There you
Right.
go.
And now I walk in, well, when you're young, it's can I or can't I? The older you get, it's like,
Do I want
do I
to?
or don't I? Yeah, do I or don't I?
Yeah.
And I'd
Exactly.
walk into their store, and to be honest, if I walk in the store and the shelves are clean, the product is faced, I get a hello and a wave when you walk in, and
Yeah.
maybe somewhere along the way someone steps up and says, anything I can help you with, all those
Right.
things that you look for,
Yeah.
right? And then you look at the prices. The prices seem fair. If I walk through this now, can I take a store that is doing everything right, and can I fix it?
Sure.
Probably, right? I don't know if you're fixing it, but can I improve it?
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
Now you walk in and the guy's got a Megadeth T-shirt with a bunch of chest hair sticking out of it, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? And you walk in and it's like, the products on the shelves have a couple months worth of dust on them,
Yeah.
and the front
Yeah.
faced piece is three spots back,
Yeah, there's
right?
no question here. I can fix your problem.
Right. It's like, I'm in. I'm in. I want this job because
Yeah.
I am going to be a rock star here.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, that's an easy
but
fix.
right.
There you
But
go.
that's my thing, and that's where you have to look. And I'm sure with you guys, you have to have both.
Oh, yeah.
When most
Oh,
churches
totally.
don't have that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, most churches that I've been in, we have a pastor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, okay.
whatever.
Now I see where you're going with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so when you get so let me put this angle on it. A new pastor comes into a church.
Sure.
Right? It's some like him,
Yeah.
some hate him,
Yeah.
some love her, some hate her.
Right.
Yeah.
But and I mean, these are good Christians that are
Yeah.
walking out of this first sermon going,
Yeah.
and then you got other ones who are walking out in cloud nine going, finally, someone I can
Yep.
someone I can relate to.
Yep.
But that's one person.
Exactly.
And I don't care if you go into a church by yourself, you're going to have people on both sides.
Oh, totally.
Same thing for you because you're who you are. You're who you are.
Yep.
And we just said not everybody responds.
Sure.
So that's where, like Luann and I kind of feel like we would make a good pair in that sense because
you
it's
go.
like, I'm going to fix the nuts and bolts of this business. We're going to
Sure.
make this thing profitable.
Yeah.
She's going to make you enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I see that with
Yeah,
you
that-
two going,
That's how
this
we
is
do it.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is that
Which
pretty
is-
accurate?
Yeah.
Very accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you need both. You need both
You do.
experiences. You do.
You do.
Now, not every one of us need both of you,
Oh, totally.
Exactly.
but
Yep.
that group
Yep.
for sure.
Yep.
Because between the two of you, I can't imagine anybody walking out shaking their head.
Well, there's been people. That's okay.
Well, you can't make everybody happy
Right.
either. There's your back to the
Right.
absolute.
And they usually just run into me, so that's the problem. So,
We don't look like a pastor.
Exactly.
good. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
Well, okay. So in what you do,
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of compassion,
Oh yeah.
right, and a lot of passion. I mean, also.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we made a comment earlier, and I want you to address this, both of you, when you're in front of your congregation, or when you're maybe even after, when you're talking to someone who pulls you aside to
Yeah.
Yep.
comment on the sermon or whatever. But if I say something and you get offended,
Sure.
that does not mean what I said was offensive,
Right.
right?
Very
So
true.
so how do you deal with that? I mean, because you've got to
Yeah.
have things that someone went, we're a little strong on this today, or
Sure.
that kind of mentality. That's got to
Yeah.
be a thing in your
Sure.
business,
Oh,
right?
totally.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I
I
don't
will
care
say
what you have to
first-
say. No. I wondered if that could shoot across.
Yeah.
the line.
How many churches you drive by to get here anyway? Pick one.
Church of Satan's right down the road. Go for it. No, I think when you talk that way as a pastor, I think even as a business owner, so let me as I'm answering that, let me speak to it this way. So I've told you this. I grew up with a dad that owned 6 businesses.
Yep.
You know, everything from, you know, he had a wood cutting business where he's hauling wood all the time, you know, for fireplaces and what have you. To they owned a cleaning shop, and then they owned a distribution of those cleaning supplies and what have you, which they really used it to fund the other one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then they owned a retail store, and then they owned an insurance business, which my dad called a legalized racket. So, you know, so there you go. So understanding business from him.
Tony, don't listen. You can still come Monday.
It's a legalized racket. We'll meet outside, Tony.
Tony Zuko's coming Monday. He's an American Family insurance agent.
Yeah, fan. Gotta love
Right,
that.
right.
So my dad wrote for American Family.
Okay.
Yeah, back in Kansas
Tony,
City.
great guy. His wife, bring his wife. She's a small business owner too. So
there you go.
kind of fun.
And I don't have any problem with it. I understand it, but I know my dad. You know, 40 years in it, and you know he had that attitude about it. So, so when you're dealing with somebody who is hurt by something that you're saying, really what you're trying to do is you're hurt by what I said, but why?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to know. I need to get you down to the base of why. What was it? You know, because was it really what I said, or is it something that's gone on? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? And so, you know, that's where, you know, you made the comment a little bit ago, you know, and I'm going to paraphrase greatly, but you really believe in people more than I do. Yeah, you're right. You know, and I get that from my dad.
I stand by that.
Yeah. That's why I won't let him down. But you know, all right, you screwed me. You know, for the 8th time. Come on. You know, and that was my dad. That was the way he worked. You know, because he cared about people.
Yeah.
You know, and so to step into and please, you know, I'll say to step into the ministry, you have to believe in people.
Yeah.
You know,
I believe that. Yep.
But what you have to do though is, so this is going to sound bad. I don't actually believe in people.
Okay.
Really, what I believe in is I believe in the ability that God has to change people. That's what I believe in, and I'm fully convinced that, you know, if you can get 11 out of the 12 of them running your way, you're doing good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that 12th one sold him out. I mean, and I don't mean this rudely, but you have a chooser, and so I'm cool with your chooser. I will admit when your chooser steps on me, I'll deal with you the way I need to. You know, and in the form that you're dealing with me. You know, if it's verbally, then I'll deal with you, and we'll but you know,
you don't need to escalate things.
yeah,
Right.
no need to, you know, need to.
I said that earlier. We talked about this. I said match energy. Right?
Exactly.
There's so many places.
So honestly, that right there is what I'm going after. If you're coming to me and you're asking a question, is a whole lot different than asking me a question. You know?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
I might not answer you. I might just go, you know, I don't really know what's going on, and you know, God bless and Dominus Ominous. You know, so hopefully that helps you. You know.
Yeah, well, it does. I mean, in the shop, you know, when I have people, which is very few and far between, because we really, you know how we work there. We really try to keep everybody informed. So if there's no surprises,
Yeah, a little too much at times.
sometimes, yes.
I don't care.
But it's how we do it, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and if you're not surprised, if you're never surprised when you walk in the door at the end, when we're looking for the payment, right? We're looking for the
Right.
finalize the transaction. If you walk in and you're not surprised, you really have no reason to be mad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Exactly.
don't get yelled at often.
Sure.
Where I get yelled at, the last time it happened was a young lady had her car fixed. I called her, talked to her, gave her the whole rundown. She really didn't get it. She said, "Can I? You know, I've got my boyfriend. Can you talk to him?"
Yeah.
Absolutely. She goes, "I hate to make you go through this all again. Maybe I'll try." I was like, "If you're not comfortable trying, just have him call me.
Yeah.
Just call me. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Right? This is what I do." And I said, "The more I talk on the phone, the less chance I have of having to like touch something dirty. So let's just go with that. You know, keep me up here."
I like
See,
that.
lazy people are smarter. Let's just get that out of the way too. Let's just
Good
for the
pause.
record.
I like
Yep.
that. Yep.
But I explained to the boyfriend. He's like, "Yeah, you know, this is what's going on. This is what has to be done. This is what it costs. Kind of pricey, but it is what it is. You know, their cars aren't cheap." And so we fix it. The stepdad then comes in with her to pay the
Bummer.
bill, and he's got his chest puffed out, and he's gonna do right by his stepdaughter,
Yes.
and he's gonna light me up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he starts lighting me up right away.
Yeah.
Doesn't even, not polite at all in the least.
Oh.
And so, and of course, this is the young lady that, and when I say young lady, she's probably 25, you
Sure.
know? So half my age, so young lady.
Oh, yeah.
But she's an
Yep.
adult, right?
Yeah.
This one, this
I was
isn't
just
12
going
yet.
to say, you keep calling her a young lady. She's an adult.
Yeah, she's an adult. This isn't some 12-year-old that doesn't know what's going on.
Exactly.
Fred goes back to man up.
Right. This is, so what I do is I pretty pointedly, I square my shoulders up with her.
Yep.
Yes.
And he is barking, and while he's talking and barking, I just start telling her, here's what we got. Here's, what we talked about on the phone. Here's your caliper. Here's your brake pads, whatever. We all remember what the job was, but
Yeah.
Sure.
laid it out. Parts are on the left side, labor's on the right side. At the bottom, it all subtotals. There's the state's share. We got to get sales tax in there.
Yep.
And here's your total. So it's exactly what we talked about on the phone.
Yes.
Nothing has changed on the bill.
Yeah.
He's like, are you gonna look at me? Are you gonna acknowledge that I'm here? And I just, and politely, now I've turned. I was like, what do you do for a living, sir?
Thank you.
He's like, what in the F does that matter?
Thank you.
And and of course he starts swearing at me. What the F does that matter?
Yeah.
So I just ask him again, politely,
What do you do for a living?
what do you do for a living?
Mm-hmm.
And he tells me that he manages an IT department.
Cool.
I was like, wow, people get frustrated in IT.
Oh,
I mean, he's like, yep. I said, so is this what you get? Is this normal in your work, your line of work? This is what people do to you every day? That's
Good job, Jerry.
Yeah.
And he's just looking at me
Yep.
and, not really having a good response. And, well, I'm assuming being that you're just coming in here, berating me and
Yeah.
attacking me loudly with profanity.
Right.
I'm
Yep.
guessing that's just how your world works. That's what people do. I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
exactly.
and he's just looking at me and he's like, well, I just think this is a lot of money. We could have led with that.
Oh,
And I just said
totally.
exactly what I said. And he said it like semi-politely
Yeah.
There you go.
in comparison to what he,
There you go.
and I said, we could have led with that.
Yes.
That I can respond to.
Totally.
And and I said, now, for the record, I said, I did speak to, and I won't say her name, but, well, Angela, I guess no last name, but I see, I spoke with Angela.
Yeah.
Angela wasn't really comfortable making a decision on this. She handed me off to, I said, boyfriend, wasn't it? And she's like, yep, my boyfriend.
Yeah.
I explained it to him. Those two chatted. She called me back. I said, and I looked at her, I said, did I overstep? Did I pressure you? Did I, and I kind of put my hand out there, like putting the screws to
Yeah.
you kind of thing, and she just laughed. She was like, actually, this was probably the most amazing interaction
There
I've
you go.
had.
Oh,
And she was super
yeah,
sweet.
yeah,
There you go.
And I just looked at him and I was like, did you guys talk before this? And I said, just like that. And
Right.
kind of make a joke,
Right.
Yep, yep.
And because she's laughing, and he just looks at me and says, everything's fixed?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Everything's fixed.
Yeah.
And he looks at her and I said, and this is the exact bill we talked about. And I pointed at her, kind of put my
Yep.
hand up, and she's
Yep.
like, to the penny. I'm
Yeah.
like,
There you
There
go.
you go.
and he just turned around and he walked out. No apologies, of course, but
No,
he
no.
just
Yeah,
he just
no.
left, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm
Right.
good with that, you know.
Right.
And
See, for you have to mind trap them. You got to work. You got to verbally jujitsu them. Me, I just get to use God.
yeah, right.
So
I don't have any absolutes like that.
Because you were talking about language and what can I say, not say, and I'm like, I don't really care, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm used to whatever, and
Well, we are
I've
who
had,
we are. I mean,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
I've had people come in and they're nice and polite, but I've dealt with. And I'm thinking of that one experience at camp, yeah, that was fun. Came back from a camp and had a mom just light into me. I mean, she just is. I'm thinking, wow, you had to be in the Navy. I mean, I'm like, wow. And then I'm thinking, no, I actually have volunteers that were in the Navy that are women. They don't talk like you, And so I kind of pull her and one of my leaders, and I don't think I pulled you in,
No.
but I had enough people in the room that it was like not me and her alone. And she just kept, F this, bomb that, and I just listened to her for about 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and then I gently leaned in as she quieted down. I said, can you explain to me where in the Word it says to talk like that? And she just kind of goes, oh, I guess no. It's like, okay, can we talk about this now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I guess so. I'm like, all right, let's talk. So she's just angry.
Yeah.
And that goes back to where I'm at. It's, so no matter who you're dealing with, find out the why.
Right. Right.
Find out the why and help them get over their why.
Well, I think some of it is you believe in your product.
Right.
You know how you've treated her. You know the steps you've gone through.
Oh, heck, you're telling the story, and I just want to be like, no, it's usually less. Usually I get this quote from you or Brandon, and I'm like, ooh, 700, okay. And then I pull up, and I'm like, 650, cool, way to go,
But you believe in your product, and you know how you've represented it, and you know what you've done. And then that drives the conviction of, I stand behind my product. And I think in the same, because listening to you, I'm like, oh, I could totally see him doing the same thing of just, is this how you talk in your line of work? And not meaning an insult, but just going, I understand the common ground. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, if this is how you get treated on a daily basis, well, then I feel for you.
Right.
But I will deal with this.
Right.
Let's address it.
Yeah.
But if you don't get treated like this every day, then maybe we should tone it down a little bit.
But it's also a good lesson to, hey, you're hurt and offended, but it doesn't mean I have to be.
Yeah.
Well, right. Because right there's an example of the opposite of what we talked about.
Exactly.
He was being offensive.
Oh, yeah.
But because he's being offensive doesn't mean I have to be offended.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
Now, inside, did I want to just come after him, jump over the counter? I'm not going to lie. You're just kind of thinking, I would really like to make a 2-second example out of this.
Yeah.
But first off, I'd probably get my butt kicked. So there's that. I'm not that guy, so I'm not able to do that. But still, you're just thinking. But that's just my mind. I'm just thinking, are you just this irrational?
Yeah.
Because what if you tell me you work in a gravel yard, you work in a gravel pit?
Sure.
This probably is how you get talked to every day.
Oh.
Fair enough.
If you're running red iron all day, sure, okay, I totally know. You're
I
just
get it.
talking at
You're
this
just
point.
talking. Yeah, this is.
Every word's a in an F-bomb. That's just you actually love me. Happy about what went on.
Yeah, it's just you're just talking over the noise. But then you look at it going, think about how you're treating people.
Oh, 100%.
And really, it's your part as a business owner to how am I treating you?
Right.
I have to, and that's where I'll say it this way. I am scared for the generation that's coming up because you're like, wait, you're offended at what? I'm like, that's funny. I'm so sorry. That was said to me about me, and I think that's funny.
Yeah. You need your safe space. Did someone punch you? Did someone point a gun at you?
Yeah.
Oh, they said words. Okay. I don't understand. I don't understand this.
No.
It's but we talk about matching energy. That's another thing. If you're going to match energy, there's been a few times where I have had to match energy.
Sure.
Because just being polite and saying, where do you work?
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden they just don't let up.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, then when I've had enough, step 2, or stage 2 of trying to, control the situation, back to control, is, okay, my next step is to match your energy. That's matching your mannerisms, that's matching your volume, and that's matching your words.
Yeah.
Because obviously I don't swear at my customers.
Right.
But I'm not saying I won't. I mean, when you, again, in that situation, if he wouldn't have let up, I have had it, and I mean, and I won't escalate.
Yeah.
But if they throw an F-bomb out there, if they don't throw the F-bomb out there, but they've thrown other things, then I will use their words.
Sure.
Oh, totally.
And then they just look at you like, you can't say that. Oh, honey, we're both adults. We can do this. We can do this. Yes, this isn't how it's supposed to work, but you're not supposed to do that to me.
Exactly.
Right.
And you're absolutely right. I am definitely not supposed to do this to you.
Right.
However.
Right. So at that point, do we back down or do we keep going?
Yep.
What do you want?
Because I'm happy taking it back
to serve you.
Right. I'm happy to scale it down like I did when you were yelling at me at first, and I chose not to yell back.
Yes.
I would like to go back to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
the best example I've ever seen of that is, like I said, one of the businesses my dad owned was an insurance business. So he's a PIA, private insurance agent. So he wrote for, like when Liberty Mutual was teeny tiny. Yeah, he wrote for them. Wrote for all these companies that I hear now. And I was thinking about this on the way in because it really describes him to a T. And so I heard one of these guys come in, one of the bigwigs, semi-bigwigs, and he's pounding on the desk and, you got to write more business through here and write there, And I all of a sudden I hear my dad's chair creak and I thought, oh, crud. That man is the most even-keeled person I've ever met. And I hear the chair creak, and I kind of lean over and look through the, the door, and I'm back there doing some accounting for him, and I'm like, I see him get up, I see him walk over to the bookshelf, and I see him grab the deck book. Deck book is how to write whatever, for that company. Walks over, sets the deck book down gently but loudly, and says, "There's your book, you can leave." And the guy, and he's like, no, you don't tell me what to do here. This is my business.
Yep.
Guy leaves. No more than 2 days later, the bigwig shows up with the deck books like, "Hey, we're totally sorry, man. You just do what you need to. Keep writing. Our quotas won't apply to you because you do,
Yep.
But he just stood up for himself,
Right.
Yep.
And yet on the flip side, my mom is a completely different character, because she'd deal with people coming in and, you got some, at this time, this is back in the 80s or whatever, you got some kid that's got some 62, Camaro or whatever that's just beat to tar and falling apart, and he's paying $1,000 a month for insurance because he's got points up the wazoo,
Yep.
And he's complaining, and she just wham, well, it's because of all your DWIs, and she just lays into him, and then he leaves, and you hear Dad get up and go, "Irene, you can't treat people like that," and just walks back, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, he's right. I'll just go with him," So
You guys would love Heather. I'll come home once in a while when we have something like this go on, and she'll be like, I'll tell her the whole story, and then she'll kind of look at me and, they're not coming back, right?
funny.
And I just giggle, and I just,
Right.
you're right, honey.
Why aren't they coming back? I'll tell you why. It's because of their pride.
Mm-hmm.
It's their pride.
Yep.
It's not because you didn't do a good job.
Right.
It's their pride because
Yep.
now they're going to have to eat that.
Yep.
And that's the tough thing with just people.
Right.
Trying to help them get over themselves. So when.
But you have to fire. And I'm sure in your congregation, I would think this has to be an issue. Hopefully not often, but it's got to be something you've dealt with. You have to fire customers.
Sure.
There are clients where you're just like, and the way I approach it when I'm ready to, when I've just I kind of hit the end of my rope and I don't want to just erupt, I'm like, you've got friends. And they kind of look at you and I'm like, right? I mean, you've got friends. You've got people you hang out with.
People
You've got
actually
people,
like you, right? Yeah.
Well, right. That's the question. I mean, that's
Right.
it. And they kind of look at you, of course. I'm like, okay, so do I.
Yeah.
There are people out there who like me,
Yeah.
right? And there are people that like you. For whatever reason, you and I are not on that page. We're just not there.
Yep.
And so rather than, in our little country, we have 342 million of us.
Yeah.
You and I don't have to coexist
Right.
in
Right.
this space.
Right.
Exactly.
You can, and then I used to say, you probably drove by 5 auto shops to get here. Or how many, right? Try them. Because I said, here's one thing, I don't want to just throw them to the curb,
Sure.
right? Because I try to be, it's a little sarcastic, but I try to be polite about it because it's like, here's what I want you to try. We're just not seeing eye to eye on this.
Yep.
Right.
And you want something from me that I'm just not delivering to your satisfaction.
Yep.
I will bear that burden.
Right.
Okay?
Totally,
I'm not blaming you. I will bear that burden. But what I would like you to do is try someone else.
Go find somebody else that could serve you better.
Right.
Yep.
Because,
Oh, totally.
and I said, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to find that guy, that gal, that shop that you just absolutely adore. They do it the way you want it
Right.
done, and you're going to find out you can't live without them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you're going to find out that you had it pretty good here.
Yes.
Dang it.
And
Yeah.
if that's the case, I don't want to, and just to your point, I say this out loud. I will tell them, I said, I don't want to do anything in this conversation to keep you
from coming back.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
therein, my conversation with new people is, hey, look, show up more than once, find out why God brought you here, but understand, this might not be the church for you.
Right.
I mean, we think a certain way, we want to run a certain way.
You might
know?
be bad people.
Yeah. We
You
might
probably
be.
can't say that.
We might be.
No, not you. I mean, to tell them.
I'm okay. I'm okay either way. I'm okay either
You
way.
might not fit in because you're just bad people. But
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that'll work its way out. That'll definitely work its way out.
Yes.
But I'll go, I'm first to admit, sure,
Yeah.
I'm unlikable. Okay, cool. That's great.
Yep.
That's why God created a bunch of us.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that's
Well,
why
it's
there's
good.
a bunch of churches. Because people get blown up about that too. Well, there should just be one church. And I'm like, no. No, I've been, and that's the problem. Yeah, so therein lies the plus and the minus of big versus small church,
Yep.
you know, big, man, they can swing a bat. I
Yep.
mean, this just wiped out Haiti, and they send 2.5 million. Well, I can't do that.
Right.
That ain't gonna
Right.
happen, bro. I mean, that
Yeah.
just ain't gonna happen. You know,
Yeah.
let's just say, some fire erupts in Rochester and, guts someplace, and it costs. I can't. We'll help a little bit, and all the churches can come to and help a little bit. But that big church, yeah, they're gonna boom, and that's good.
Yep.
But I can also promise you, on the other side of it, I have run into what I said earlier. It's like, oh my God, you're still here. Well, yeah, we just changed services. Instead of Saturday night first service, we're Saturday night second service. Oh, that's why I haven't seen you in 8 months. I
Yeah.
thought you died or went to a different church.
Yep.
So there's pluses and minuses to it all.
Yeah.
So,
Which is why we make the joke.
yeah.
I may not be everybody's flavor, but Jesus wasn't either. So I'm okay. That's more your joke than mine. But no, I mean, that's where.
Don't tell my
mean-
jokes. They're not good for you.
What?
You're too nice to tell my
I
jokes.
was saying, yeah, you're too nice for that one.
I am. But I do tell people, I'm not going to be it for everybody. But if I'm not, then I can promise you might find him in somebody else at my church, But yes, I joke and say, Jesus, not everybody like Jesus either. But the point being, sometimes it's you,
Right,
know? So
right.
I'm okay to give you space to figure that out,
Yep.
But I think so many times we try to, and that's why I said, you believe in your product. We believe in what we're doing, you
Yep.
know? And when you believe in it, then you're not quite so moved by somebody that doesn't want it because you go, it's okay, it's not everybody's thing.
Yep.
If it's your thing, jump in with me. But if it's not, let's just agree to disagree and you do your thing, I'll do my thing. And you have to take it all with a grain of salt, which I think we all know. You just can't let any of it destroy your life, but,
Right. But you can learn from it. You can
you
evolve.
do have to. Exactly. And there's
Yep.
always room for improvement. So
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
So I do have a business well, I have two business questions. I asked you not to answer this earlier, but if I could ask you,
Okay.
when you franchise a church,
Sure.
who owns it?
yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't know the answer to this, folks. I did ask if I could ask that.
And I said you could.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Okay.
who owns a franchise church?
So let's look at it in the difference of how a church is set versus how a business is set. In a sense, because I get both of them. I've come from that world.
Yep.
I understand that, but I also, this is all I've done for the past 30 years, plus years. So let's just put it this way. If you start acting screwy, your business is just going to fall apart.
It is.
Me, if I start acting screwy, I start messing with people. So what I set up was I have a board that's going to deal with that. I mean, if she starts, hey, he's acting foolish, those 6 people are going to sit down with me. We're going to start dealing with it. And so the church is set so that the people are protected. Does that make sense? So that the entity is protected.
Mm-hmm.
And it's protected from me, and it's protected from other people as well. How is it protected? Well, by the bylaws that we've set up. And this is the way we're going to act. This is the way we're going to interact. Here's how we're going to act with money. Here's how we're going to act with people. So, I mean, very honestly, no, I'm probably not going to cuss anybody out.
Right.
It just ain't going to happen, If I do, though, yeah, I'm going to have some repercussions to that.
Sure.
Because, when we set up our bylaws, there's a certain way that I should act.
Right.
And I'm cool with that.
But that's no different than a board reprimanding a CEO.
Exactly.
I mean, if a CEO
Right.
jumps out on Coyote Ugly and starts dancing on the bar, the board's going to,
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Right.
so in that, when you ask franchise, that who owns it?
Yeah.
Well, the entity itself owns it. Well, so then who owns the entity is really the question.
Right.
God. And how do you do that? I know that's like this ominous term of like,
I was going to say,
God,
that was kind of like,
Is that really what we're about here?
yeah, God owns the business. Well, he does in the sense that if I set up and I'm going to call it a business, a church,
Yep.
and it doesn't line up with the word, I haven't set up a church. I set up something else. Does that make sense?
It does, but is there an owner or a shareholder
Okay, so
to a church?
let me push you down that. Yep,
Okay.
let me push you down that path then. Okay, because I was hoping you'd kind of let's keep going with that. So, what I don't want is I don't really agree with I'm going to throw myself out there. I don't really agree with the idea of, let's just say Mercy Hill sets up 6 other locations. They will operate independently of us, but under our covering. Mm-hmm. Meaning, hey guys, this is the way we're going to work. And the same board that deals with this is going to deal with you. Meaning,
so each church wouldn't have their own board. You'd still have your board, your 6.
We'd still have one.
Is going to be one board over all the pastors, all the locations.
Yep.
So who owns it?
Yeah. We still go back to the entity.
At some point, you have to.
Yeah, the entity owns it at that point. You have to look at it that
So
way. Meaning, therein is where it's a little bit different. I don't walk away with it. I mean,
Right.
we talked about that. You can sell Broadway car care.
Yeah.
I really can't sell Mercy Hill, and I'm not going to, which is where one of the questions, and I don't want to dance around and try to avoid it. I don't know that maybe I know how to answer it the best, so I'll walk my way through it. But it's where, I think we talked about succession, and that's a big thing for me. I mean, that's a very big thing for me. How do I set up for a proper succession? And we've talked about and my dad. I mean, I don't. And honestly, since we had that question, that conversation, I've thought back about, and I realized he never really approached me and was like, "Hey, here they are."
Right.
Coming out of high school, and I think he realized, oh yeah, you're going to go do one of a few other things. You're going to head down this path or that path, and he just kind of kept them to himself, and then ended up selling them. But I can't sell this.
Right. Well, this has been a topic on virtually every one of the podcasts so far.
Yep.
Because it's a big deal to me, because I found just that kink in the armor.
Sure.
For most, and I mean, when I say most, I mean overwhelming majority of small business owners. I used to ask, and the folks that are listening, you've heard this before, but I've asked so many business owners in the beginning, 2 or 3, and just said, what's your exit strategy?
Yeah.
Right?
Just sell it and be done.
Well, right. I mean, what's your exit strategy? Not because I was trying to put them on the spot, but in my mind, I'm assuming, because this will hit home for you guys as well as everybody out there. When you talk about what comes first, family,
Sure.
Yeah.
right? Family,
Right.
It's a quick, immediate answer. So you're telling me that every small business owner spends more time with their kids, it's more time with their wife, right? Right. I mean, you're laughing because you know where I'm headed with this.
Right.
You spend more money on your kids and your wife, or your husband if you're the wife that's running the business. That's not uncommon,
Right.
And then you talk about like actual energy, the amount of effort you put in. If you're a small business owner and you answer family to each one of those things,
Right.
you are broke.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
Now, what I will tell you is I put as much time into my family when they're available, right, as I can.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if that business doesn't work, I'm not providing for them.
Right.
Exactly.
Right?
So I got to make sure this gets done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's back to that pull up the bootstraps and get it done.
Yep.
Right.
And so now, with that being said, we pretty much, even if you don't want to admit it, you've agreed that as a small business owner, that business takes most of your money, or the biggest chunk of your money, your time, and your effort.
Yes.
Right? Your attention.
Yep.
More so even than your family. So when I come in as a new business owner or a wannabe business owner and I say, what's your exit strategy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? When I was young, I assumed everyone had an answer to that.
Yeah.
And what I found out was the biggest thing in your life.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I ask you this,
Right.
and you get that deer in the headlight look, and they're like, and you know what's going through their head. Well, I didn't at the time. Now I do.
Yeah.
They have that panic going, I should have an answer for this. I need to answer this. Oh my gosh. Probably sell it.
Yep.
And that's what they come with. They take that dramatic pause,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then we'll probably sell it.
Yeah.
And then in pastors, it's well, I'll just hand it off. Well, and that's not no. And I think the same thing. And I told my dad this whenever he sold the insurance business, and I'd tell you, I'm sorry, you've just poured your life into this,
Right.
and you're just gonna drop it?
Yeah.
No, bro. No,
Right.
It don't work that way.
And
it don't work that way.
so I'm talking to Craig on the first podcast, and I said this, and he kind of laughed at me, and I'm like, no, I'm serious. Now, and this is kind of that I don't know, sarcastic jerk in me. Now I enjoy asking people the exit strategies because I know there is about a 97-3
Yep.
chance that they're going to go, probably sell it,
Right.
right? And I just laugh at them going, oh, you are an idiot. All right. And you're not an idiot because nobody does it. But
Right.
but in my head, I'm just like, listen to yourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Lay this out. I can make you feel so silly over this. You should have an idea.
So what is the
Yeah.
exit strategy? The exit strategy is to stay around.
Right. Don't retire.
Well, no. I'm okay with retiring, but here's what's going to happen. I'm going to be a part of that. Why? Well, because I poured into it.
Right.
Now, here's the deal. I do recognize that, let's say, whoever I bring in or whoever gets brought in, however, we find that individual, we're looking, even right now.
Sure.
I'm in the middle of looking. However, there will be a phasing out, meaning I'm not just going to step out.
Right.
And here's why.
It's Tuesday.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
I'm out.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Hit my days.
Pay period ends on whatever, we're done.
I put my time in.
Oh, yeah.
And there's two reasons for it. And the one is, because I poured my life into this, but really the statement is because God asked me to steward this. The second part of this is because you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't.
No.
And so let's put it this way. For me, being at a large church, you're talking 23 years in one location doing one thing. I can talk to pastors of 400, of 150, and I say things like, yeah, there were years in a row where I was doing 7 funerals and 7 weddings a year, and they're like, I don't think I've done 7. And I'm like, trust me. So therein is a benefit to that. You get taught a lot real quick.
Sure.
You learn very quick. I know that makes it sound clinical, and I don't mean to be that way, but I mean it in the sense of I do know what I know.
Right.
And so if you're new and you're coming in and you're going to step in, I'm expecting 2 things. The first one is this. I expect you to change things. Because if you keep doing what I've done, you can't be me. And if you keep doing what we've done, you're going to get the same result. And I really need you to get a different result, a better result. Meaning, I'm sure you've got a better idea. But on the flip side of it, I'm not going anywhere. I will still be a part of this as much as I can, and it'll get worked out. We'll deal with everything the way we need to. Why? Because you don't know what you don't know,
Right.
and I do. And my mindset is this: is that you look in the Word and you're like, Melchizedek walked with God and he was no more. So he just had a fellowship with God, and God was like, why are you hanging out down here? Come up here, But he was 900 years old. So could you imagine sitting down with somebody who's 900 years old?
Could you imagine what you could see?
Forget that. Someone who's 500 years old.
Yeah.
We'll just say that. And just say, hey, you know what? We've got this idea about communism, and we want to do this and that. And they're probably going to go, we
If you
tried.
ask my daughter, that's me. So, for the record, that's
He's
Been
500
through it
years
all.
old.
Yeah.
You got
been
it,
through
you
it
know
all.
it, Yeah.
The massive amount of intelligence you're going to get. Just to be able to sit down and go, how do you do this?
Right.
And being an example, I was in a position one time where I was with a younger pastor, and I wasn't in charge. He was. And he went and did a funeral, did a good job on the funeral, and we're riding to the graveside. And we're riding together, and he leans over and he goes, what am I supposed to do at the graveside? He didn't expect that.
Oh.
And
To go with.
I'm thinking, you didn't prep for this? I'm like, what the, that's like showing up to a baseball game and, where's my glove? And I'm like, no, this don't work, man.
Yeah. Wow.
So what was I literally able to do in a 20-minute ride was able to go open up a document, boom, 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 give it to him and just read it, change the names. I used this probably 6 months ago, but just use that, change the names. Do you have questions? He learned from it. I saved his butt.
We're all here to cherish, change the name. Oops.
And that was an odd incident because I've had it on the other side where, the best thing that ever happened to me was I used to go on pastoral care calls with a gentleman that was, how old was Roger? He was when he was, he's probably 60 some odd, 70
60s,
some
yeah,
odd,
easily.
Easily. And he had already pastored a church. And the great thing about with him is he'd already pastored a church and then retired and then came and started volunteering at our church.
Sure.
And then they liked him so much, they put him in charge of facility maintenance. And then they liked him so much, they moved him in charge of pastoral care once they figured out what he used to do. And then you'd go on pastoral care calls with him and you're like, the dude's a wizard.
Sure.
I mean, the dude's a wizard.
so much.
I mean, he just I walked into a room one time and it was just chaotic and you just watched him just command the room and he just, you're like, oh, that's how you do that. Okay, cool. Well, I get that. So it was a lesson. So go ahead.
I'm looking at time.
Oh.
We wanted
She
to be
talks a lot. So.
it's. I was going to mention it earlier, but I
Yeah,
didn't want to
know,
break
it's
in.
okay. It's all good.
Well, again, we say 35 to 45 minutes.
Yep.
I started the timer 25 minutes late, so we're at an hour and 20
good
minutes.
God.
To be honest,
I apologize.
no.
everybody.
But I do have one question
Yep,
for you.
go for it.
And we're going to go back to one last church versus business.
Did I answer the other question?
No, not really.
I
But
did.
that's all
I
right.
don't feel like I
That's all right.
did.
Well, because as a church, you don't want to say, really, you're the CEO.
Yeah.
You're driving it. You're
So there
you're
it
the-
is.
But it's like a corporation.
So where
It
I would
is.
look at
I mean,
it,
really,
yeah.
Yeah.
So where
sense.
I would look at it is this: is that I'm the CEO of Mercy Hill, but let's just say you're in, Timbuktu, then I need you to be the CEO there.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Sure. Yep.
But don't lose these qualities.
Yep.
Does that make
Yep.
sense? And
What
the
I
only
see-
reason I say that is because I don't want to dictate what you're doing.
Right.
I just
Right.
don't feel like that's right.
Right.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah. Which
think
is
it's a lot
different
of
from
detail.
business.
So who owns it? Yeah. I mean, where does the buck stop? Right here.
Right.
Who signs the
Right.
checks? Me.
Yep.
If it fails,
But it is like a corporation. You could get kicked to the curb
Oh, totally.
if
Yep.
you don't hold
Yep.
up your end. Of,
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because
Right.
it's like a corporation. It's like a CEO that can just get shuttled out
Yes.
if you don't hold up your end.
Yep.
Yeah.
So no, that's really what I was looking for. That
Yeah.
honestly. So now I have 2 points I want to make or
Okay.
ask. To franchise out your church, you really need you to make sure the heart is there.
Sure.
Right? In your words. But you really need a business coach or a business manager to open the other locations, for lack of a better term. I mean,
In a way,
don't
yeah.
you? I mean,
Maybe.
Yeah.
because you're still going to have to.
I've really never thought of it that way. That's a good question.
But I think that, I mean, as I'm sitting back here, look at this going, you really do need someone, I don't want to say separated from the church, because that's not cool.
Right.
Right.
But not a pastor, not you. I mean,
Yes.
that you really would probably want that kind of business mind, and not to say you can't run the business. That's, you know what I
Sure.
mean.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying separated from the heart of the business.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
know.
to make sure, because you've got to have somebody doing quality control,
Right.
right? To make
Exactly.
sure
That checks
everything's
and
working.
balances.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, here's the one that I've been dying to ask for about a half hour.
Okay.
I'm looking at your hat.
Yep.
Folks, take a look at his hat, Mercy Hill Church hat. Okay? Logo wear.
Yes.
This hits close because one of my businesses, we
Yep.
do the logo wear. Let's step back 30 years ago, right? Let's get
Yeah.
back into like the 90s, maybe even 40 years ago to the 80s.
I'd be sitting here in a suit.
You'd be sitting here in a suit. On Sunday, okay, but more importantly than that,
Sunday, I'd be in a suit.
Sunday, okay, and more importantly than that,
Uh-oh.
Sunday when you're at the pulpit and you're looking out at your congregation, what
They'd
are they
be in
wearing?
suits.
They'd be in suits,
Yep.
right? Sunday you stand at your pulpit and you look out there, what are they wearing?
Look a lot like this.
A lot like that. So,
Yep.
being that we're relating church to business,
Yeah.
this has opened up an entirely new avenue
Oh, big
for
time.
merchandise.
Big
Oh,
time.
totally. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, because that's, to me, that is, I look back to when I was a kid.
Sure.
As a child, we had no money. I mean, we had very little money.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I had a suit. I had something when I was 8 years old
Yep.
that
Yep.
we had no money.
Yep.
Now I'm not 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I don't not have money. I'm not wealthy, but I mean, but if I want to go get a suit, you want to buy a $100 suit, you want to buy a $1,000 suit, get what you want.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a suit that fits me.
Yeah.
Right. I have personal growth. I love my cheeseburgers, and I have
Personal
never
growth, I like that.
and I have never chosen. Once I outgrew my last suit, I haven't
Yep.
bought a suit in 25 years.
Brother, I
And-
have 2 suits that fit, and I'm just like, they barely get used.
Well, in this podcast, I've joked that I only wear a suit to weddings and funerals.
Sure.
Well,
And I
it's
try
a,
not to.
It's a lie, folks. Because I mean, I have
Right.
respect for whoever is there.
Right.
I have mourned for the weddings. I have respect for the funerals. It's
Yeah,
stick
yeah,
with
we
that.
got
That's,
that, yeah.
That's happily divorced. Let's go. We'll
It's
go
okay.
with that. That's
It's
right.
okay.
You know,
I totally understand.
Yeah.
I've stood up at weddings and gone, or I've stood up at weddings, yeah, and said, sorry about the funeral, and I'm like, whoa, wait,
Oh, wrong event.
wrong one, yeah.
Yep. Yep. Well, it's like when you tell. My daughter's going to hate me. She'll probably never listen to this, so we'll be all right. But
Yeah, you'll be okay.
I told her I'm only paying for the first one.
Yeah.
But they're doing good. I talked to her tonight. They're good kids. They're doing good.
Good.
But that's just the dad joke. That's the dad
yeah.
humor.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, seriously, now that is it okay? Is it kosher? I guess maybe use that
Sure.
to have like a merch area, a merchandise
yeah.
area in the church.
Yep.
Where you just
So
like
many do.
when you walk into a brewery, you got your
Right.
you know what I mean. You walk into the winery.
And
we
that's
walk
where
into church.
church and businesses, I think, I think churches have realized to mimic that. People want to wear and represent
Right.
what means something to them.
Right.
And if it means something to them, they want to promote it,
And
so
what did you say earlier? They don't want to be left out.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? They want purpose.
Yes.
And that purpose is to bring, if they found purpose with you,
Yep.
they want to bring, now a new purpose, an extension of that purpose is to share that purpose
Right.
with other
Exactly.
people.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, and I
that's
keep
'cause-
thinking of the Penn and Teller quote. Pen's the older, the bigger one, not the small one that's quiet. Penn made a comment about Christianity that just, it drives me. I mean, not on a spiritual sense, but just in a mentality. He's like, hey, look, if he's an atheist,
Yep.
and I don't know if that's changed or
Yeah.
not. I don't want to speak to that, but at the time he was an atheist, and he's just like, look, if you guys have the answer, why are you so quiet? And I was like, all right,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I get tons of questions. Well, what's that?
Yep.
And what I love is whenever they read it wrong, Mary Hill. No, it's fight you in your
Well,
face.
and we have talked about this. When you look at that particular logo, you're in Rochester, Minnesota,
Yep.
with Mayo Clinic, with
Right.
all the industry and the medical. That's what I think of when I see that.
Yeah.
That's that block letter, and we're working on that.
Yeah.
For the record, we're working on that.
But see, that's the pastor that doesn't like looking like a pastor. So that's where he still kind of clings to that one because he likes that you don't. It's mysterious. You don't know. You
I
kinda
want you to
wonder.
ask me.
Right. He wants you to. He
What
invites
is
it.
that? What's a church? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
And then you get 20 minutes into the conversation, sitting at whatever bar, and they're like, oh, wait, you're the pastor? You ride motorcycles? Yeah. You love guns? Oh, more than you realize. You take jujitsu? Yeah. And that's fun too. You
Yeah.
go to jujitsu and you're tied up with some dude on the floor, and you're like, wait, you're what? You do what for a living? And I'm like, I'm a pastor. And it's like, okay, quit going easy now. Stop. Because I'll put you down. If I need it. I'm not that good. Trust me. I'm in the middle of learning. So
We need to get some T-shirts. I got my ass whooped by Pastor Fred.
I like that. I like that.
Oh, you would sell those.
You could sell those.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
I do tell the people there. I'm like, well, I'm walking out a little empty today. Got it handed to me. So, they chuckle.
Yes.
did you have fun?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was all
It was
right.
a good time, yeah.
All
I
right.
hope we help people.
Well, that's
I mean,
that's what this is all about. I mean, I wanna
Yeah.
help.
I'll say it this way, and I know we keep adding to it, man. I mean, because really, what I don't say is when my dad sold that last business, it went south,
Yeah.
and it didn't work out for him. And there was a couple of reasons, and I won't go into that, but I know that there's an exit strategy that you can work with, and I do not believe in the well, I've worked all my life on this. Here you go.
Yeah. Right.
I don't believe in that. That's not right.
No.
I believe in, okay, I'm going to hold this, and you're going to help me hold it. And then I'm going to help you hold it. And then as and I'm still going to be a part of it, but I'm going to teach you how to hold this,
Yep.
And to me, it's something, because, you and Craig talked about it in the first one. So and whenever you see it, you'll see it.
Yeah. Right.
But it's something I completely agree with it. You are owed nothing. You are owed nothing.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep.
That pastor's mean. No, I'm not. It's
No.
just true. You're owed nothing.
Yep.
And there's too many people that walk into the church, walk into a business, wherever it would be, and they think, give it to me.
Yep.
It's like, no.
Well, I'm going to share one more.
Yep.
Hard to believe. But we do in the auto shop. We do work for a couple churches in Rochester,
Oh.
where folks will come to them with their car problems,
Yeah.
and then they'll send them to me,
Yep.
and then I call, and I'll call the church, my contact, and say, okay, here's what's wrong with it. This is what's going to cost to fix.
Yeah.
And then they tell me if they'll pay for part of it, all of it, none of it, whatever the
Sure.
case is.
Sure.
And these people are wonderful. I mean, I just start with that,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
They are just absolutely wonderful people. The part that frustrates me, I have a hard time with, I'm going to say, a majority of the folks they send me.
Sure.
There are definitely people out there that need the help.
Yeah.
And
I
I
know
try
where
to
you're going with
and I
this.
try to give the church a break so they can afford to help them more.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because they'll have like a X dollar amount, $400. Let's just use that number.
Yeah.
$400 is the most we're going to spend. And I'll get these cars in that they had at the dealer and it has a $2,000 estimate on it.
Right.
Okay, well, bring it to me. I look at it going, okay, it's $500 to get it safe.
Yeah.
Yep. Do I see what the dealer was looking at? Of course I do. Do I
Right.
think it's a life or death scenario? It's not. I mean, that's a black and white issue. It's
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, okay, $500. If I massage the price a little bit, I'll work with them, a little bit, and now I can get it to $400 and I can get this done.
Yeah.
The part that I struggle with is when, and I made the mistake, which nobody got offended, so that was okay. But I made the mistake of asking how long they had been going to this church.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I get that deer in the headlight look, right? It's like,
Yep.
wow, I didn't ask you how old you are. I didn't try to offend you. I asked you how
Right.
long you went to the church of the people you went and asked for help
Yeah.
that are now paying for your
Yeah.
repair
Yeah.
that I'm doing, and and whether I'm kicking in or not. It's like,
Right.
and so then when I call, the next time I'm like, do you just do this for whoever walks in the door? And it's like, or I get, my friend, they help my friend with this.
Yep.
And it's like, and I'm standing there with these folks that are on their $1,200 iPhone, which I have one, right? I have one, so I'm not dissing the iPhone.
Yeah.
But if you are going to someone who is a wonderful organization, wonderful person, asking them to dole out their money to help you, you've never stepped foot in their facility.
Sure.
And the one lady said, she told me flat out, she says, yeah, I got a phone number for a friend of mine. I don't even know where the church is.
Yep.
Sad.
Oh yeah.
And they're just there for a payday. And it's like they've got their pack of cigarettes or they've got their,
Right.
like I said, their $1,200 iPhone, and they just come back with their little Pescara, the expensive lunch doggy bag as they're getting their free car repairs. And I mean, I'm getting paid, right?
Right.
So I shouldn't care.
Yeah.
But I do care.
Right.
I do care. And I will call, and I won't mention her name because that, but I'll call my contact at the church, and I'm just like,
Are you sure?
are you
about
sure about this?
Right.
And she laughs at me because we've had this conversation. I've been doing this for probably 12 years.
it? Yeah.
Wow.
And she's like, you don't like this one, huh? I'm like, I don't. I said,
Yeah.
and I tell her, I joke with her all the time, and she isn't. I mean, I don't know how old she is,
Yeah.
but she's older than I am.
Okay.
Sure.
And I'm just like, you are a better person than me. I don't know how many times in a week I tell people that, but it's a lot. I know where I stand on the totem pole of human beings. I am not real high on the list sometimes because I look at these folks going, why are you doing this?
Right.
I am going to push this car back out in the parking lot and let them trade their iPhone for a repair from someone else because I don't want to deal with it. And they're just like, no, we've decided, and so we're good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you are wonderful people. They really are.
Yeah.
So much better than me.
Yeah.
Because I want to help everybody
Well, yeah.
that wants to help themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
I will help you if you're going to put effort in. When you just, now, ability matters.
See, I wonder how many pastors are going to watch this because I'll just tell you, that's what you're asking is correct. The way they're going about it is unbiblical.
Yeah,
It's not right.
I don't-
and I can show that in the word.
yeah. I just
So,
I don't.
First
like
thing it says is, "Let him who stole steal no more," and then everybody likes to put the period, but then it says, "But let him work with his hands diligently." Well, that's called get a job, bro. You
Yeah,
know?
get it
and,
done.
And I people are like, "Well, but that person can't work." Okay, cool.
Right, that's
do
different.
you have a mental or physical? Man, then we're helping.
Yep.
We'll go around that. And the Bible gets very clear about helping those that are in need. Well, then it classifies care for the widows. That's what he's talking about. Okay, cool. I understand it. And there's some flex in that now. You know, if you have dad who's still alive, mom passed away, and he's dealing with 6 kids, 3 kids, 2 kids,
Yep.
you know, oh yeah, let's see what can help. But to me, I would want to, and I realize you're not on that side of it, but for me, you know, like whenever I took over at Mercy Hill, I mean, I came in and I was like, nope, this is how it works. Bing, 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 bing. We have a 4-step. We have a process that goes through the board, you know, but it has to be cleared. But we have a 4-step process. Are you a member? I mean, we're going to take care of our members first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you involved? That's our next step. Because if you're a member, we're saying that you're involved and you're part of what's going on. But are you know, okay, so then...
Don't ruin the surprise, but is number 4, does Jerry like you?
That's number 5.
That's number 5. Okay, all right. I just want to make sure I'm in there somewhere.
Yeah. But then the other 2 are, you know, so you're not a part of the church. Where do you go to church? Or you're not a part of a church at all, you know? And the boom, 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 and you're just falling down the line at that point. And, you know, I get where people are at. I get where churches are at. You know, they want to be caring. They want to be loving. And that's good. And I will add to that, you know, if they have a benefactor that's like, look, you know, pushing piles of cash across the table and saying, you know, take care of these type of people. Okay, cool.
Yep.
I understand that. But as a pastor, I'm going to sit down and go, that's not, you know, that's not biblical, you know. So you need to think about what we're doing here. So, sorry.
Okay. Well,
I dropped a bomb.
No,
Sorry
no,
about
that's
that.
no. I started this, and so this is going to be our longest one yet. We're at 1 hour and 36
sorry.
minutes. It just clicked. So, I had a fun. I had a blast.
It was fun.
I had a blast.
Good.
So,
I hope you did.
will you guys come back?
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Do something.
Anytime.
We'll come up with a little different spin or something,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
and you're okay to put you on the website.
Oh heck
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
let's
So we'll
go.
get
Let's
together
rock and roll.
after. Anything you want to say on your way out?
Oh man. No God, find freedom. Come find us. Come hang out. Come check us out if you want to.
Where are you?
So Mercy Hill, we're on the north end, so up by Menards North.
see the cross tower,
Look for
that's
the
us.
huge cross tower that is not on any logo, but is on the other logo that's being created. So,
Yes.
but that's where we're at. So
I've got high hopes for that. I think that's going to look cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Kelly?
Yeah. I'd love for you to, we'd love to meet you in person. We always do. But
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. But
Awesome.
we
Open
believe in
arms.
people, so yeah.
there you go.
Good people. See?
Thank you.
I'm not good people, but I surround myself with good people.
You are
That's
good
how
people.
it works.
Don't even
He's just
fool.
lying. He's good
You
people.
are good people.
He's
Well,
good
that means
people.
a lot. I appreciate you guys, and I guess we're done for tonight, and we'll chat later.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
All right,
We will.
guys, have a great night.
Yeah,
Thanks.
be blessed.